Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. We're going to jump right into it just to go ahead and talk about the elephant. If you see something going on the side of my face, y'all know I'm working on my skin or whatever, but Miss Hormonal Acne is trying to sabotage me, so I got a couple hydrocolloid patches, I think is the right term, over here to kind of keep some breakouts at bay. So you might see something, don't freak out. All right. Either way, now that the housekeeping is done, let's jump right into it. We're on season 7, episode 5, entitled Hanging in the Balance. So aptly titled because that's exactly where we are when it comes to Karen and also Zach and what their futures are going to look like. So let's just keep it going. Last episode, Zach just came into the shop and he blurted out, "Listen, girl, I want a DNA test. I don't care what you're talking about. What's up?" And so she's taken aback by Zach asking for the DNA test. He reminds her, like, "Listen, you never got my DNA. So yeah, while you were able to clear Aaron as the father, that does not put me on the hook as having a dad. So I just want to clear this thing up." Well, basically he said we want to clear. So he walks in there with like this little like rah-rah type attitude that he has going on, and tells her like, "Yeah, we want a DNA test." Really just blew the cover, letting her know that Fatima essentially is where this is coming from. And she got offended, as most people would. And she asked, "Hey, are you trying to call me a slut or something like that?" And he's like, "No, but I did hear how you used to get down in college," which you would know how she got down in college if you weren't talking to somebody that went to college with her, which will lead her back to one of the girls, which we already know that is Danny when she had the conversation with you last episode. And you really could have left that out. It was like you were trying to hurt her a little bit, like trying to poke at her. Because the way that you said it, like you said it with the way that he said it with like angst. He was like, "Yeah, I heard how you got down in college." Okay, college was 20 or something years ago. Let's just say for numbers sake that was a long time ago, and maybe that's not how she get down no more. We all had a little, what I like to call a little hoe phase in college, and so I don't think you need to judge her for that, but whatever. And so that kind of throws Danny under the bus a little bit, and then she just clearly tells him, "No, I'm not giving you a DNA test. And because you assume that I'm this kind of person, I don't even want you in my child's life anymore." And, so they're going back and forth, just with words. And Mr. Delivery Guy Trey shows up and he claims he was there to just check on Karen. And so now Zach is just kind of looking him up and down like, who this little nigga is? Like, what's up? Which later on in the episode, he kind of portrays to Fatima that, see this little dude showed up, and that kind of solidified like, oh, she might have been sleeping around, or kind of guessing how long he's been around to see if he's a viable dad. I don't know what that was about when he was talking to Fatima, but he was like, "Yeah, some dude named Trey showed up to have her back or take up for her or whatever." And I guess he's making assumptions at that point, but that is where we're at with that. Maurice is at the club and he's meeting up with somebody from Backpage, Plenty of Fish, whatever the name of the site is. It's none of those, but I didn't bother writing it down. A guy named Grayson, and we're kind of looking out for Grayson in the gray shirt. Hopefully, hoping that he's not a catfish. And it turns out he looks like his picture. He seems to be a pretty nice guy so far. But of course, Maurice ain't with the niceties. He's like, "Listen, do you have my fee?" Because Maurice told him, like, "Listen, hey, Mr. Grayson, if you want to meet up, that's cool, but you're going to have to pay me my in-person fee." And so he's like, "I'm gonna give you your fee. Just calm down. Calm down, little mama. I'm going to get you your money." And, Maurice is giving him the fifth degree. He's like, "Do you think I'm a gigolo? Do you think I'm just here to pay your bills?" Like, just, cutting all the crap up front. And Grayson tells him, "No, I just thought you were cool. I'm a day trader. I'm newly single. His boyfriend passed away from cancer, and so, he's back on the scene, and he took an interest in Maurice." Now, I think it's a little bit too soon because everything is kind of fresh with the case being over. Q going back to jail. You still getting your life back on track. It's just a little too much going on to try to be entertaining and dating somebody. But maybe, with Maurice having charged him, he's not looking at this as a date, but Grayson is. So, we're going to keep our good eye on it. Lisa shows up in the nick of time. Like, she's just always standing in the wings to escort Zach right out of the front door. Trey and Karen are talking, and he checks on Karen. I'm so flustered. She didn't act flustered, but he asked her if she needed anything. She's like, yeah, I'll take some water. So he just runs off like he's Speedy Gonzalez to go get her some water. Pam tells her, like, girl, you tripping. Like, Trey's cool and all, and, he may be a little potential something, but we know that he's a delivery man, and the income ain't gonna be enough to take care of you and a baby. You, a baby, and what you need for the shop. So you basically telling her she needs to make up with Zach or give him what he desires so that he will assist her financially. And that is a theme this episode, because I think her mom, somebody else in the episode told her, like, hey, just give him the DNA test so that he can, in exchange, help you financially. And I think that is, I'm sorry, y'all know what, something in my damn mouth, I don't know if it's hair or something, sorry. I don't know if that is fair to put the two things together, because for one, he just wants to know, he wants to confirm his paternity for his own sanity's sake, and before he invests into the child. That does not in turn mean he's investing in Karen. She might, of course she's going to gain some benefit, when Zach is fronting the bills for the child or different things that are going to come with him being an active parent. But also saying that, Trey's money ain't going to be enough to support you, the shop, and the baby. Well, Zach has no active interest in taking care of the shop and the baby, because again, you've turned down his financial assistance, which would have been a financial agreement, not a romantic interest. So Zach won't have an interest in taking care of you and the shop. So making it up with him is not going to change the fact that you still have to take care of it, because those are your things to take care of as an adult. Am I right or am I wrong? Y'all, let me know what you think about that. I just think they're tying it together, and I think whether he gets the DNA test or not, you still got to figure out, that other stuff. All right. At the end of this, Danny pops out of the shadows. I didn't even realize that Danny was still at the... I thought everybody left. I didn't even think Danny was still there. She pops out the thing, and she's just as drunk as an absolute skunk, and telling Karen, I'm going to be there for you, even though you had all the drama with the baby daddy stuff and the fire and the blah, blah, blah. She's spent. She is drunk out of her heels, and, they have to come in and get her off the microphone because, girl, no, ma'am, you got enough going on at the present moment. All right. Zach tells Fatima what happened with Karen, and Fatima tells him, like, she can act like that if she wants to, but she really not going to see one red cent until she gives us this DNA test, so we can figure out who this baby belongs to, so we won't have these questions in the future, which is reasonable. I don't have a problem with that. And then Zach was like, I agree. However, in the meantime, I can't be bothered with that. I got to get things settled with my baby Michael first. We got to get that handled, and then we'll deal with Karen and her crap. And Fatima tells him, like, hey, speaking of baby Michael, I've looked up some schools, and I do know with everything that he's going through, he's going to need a therapist. So I've also taken it upon myself to get some brochures for some therapists. And that was absolutely my favorite part of the episode. It was so thoughtful that she had already taken the initiative to know that, hey, baby Michael's going to need some assistance, and we're not going to be able to help him with this mental stuff that's going to come with Heather, unfortunately, being his mama. So we need to get him lined up, so he can start, becoming better and bouncing back. Excuse me. So that he could start bouncing back from everything, that he has had to go through. So that was really nice. That was thoughtful. And I appreciated it. Good job, Fatima. All right. Fatima goes to Andy and asks her, like, hey, anybody talk to Karen? Like, what's going on with your girl? And, they're talking about, everything that just happened with Karen and Zach. And of course the story has gotten all mixed up, and the way she heard the story was that the way Andy heard the story is that Zach went in there on some rah-rah shit, and Trey had to swoop in, and that, like, just this, it's like a game of telephone. You're not gonna get all the facts. Things gonna get sensationalized or whatever. And they don't agree with the way that they both have different accounts of what happened, and so we're gonna leave well enough along on that. But they do agree that it was not the time or the place for him to ask her. But they also need their own set of answers, and so whatever. Fatima tells her, also, while I got you here, let me tell you, I think that Hayden is up to something. I think he's got some scheming going on, so you need to keep your eyes open with the hearing coming up. We don't, and Andy goes to tell her, understandable, I got my good eyes open. And speaking of precautions, I need you to, keep Zach even keeled. Like, we have the hearing coming up with the office, with the judge and the lawyer, and we don't need Zach in any fights. Like, we got to keep things looking real good and pristine, so we can get this paternity stuff settled. We can get baby Michael settled with his dad, and so we don't need any issues or police incidents right now. So keep him at bay. All right. Gary is listening to a news reporter lady, and she's talking about Jordan. She's like, he is out here in the community doing good things. He coaches the girls' basketball team. He's looking like he, potentially a good candidate for the council person seat that is coming up. And Gary is, again, he's spiraling. He's knocking the computer screen over. He's tearing shit up in his office as if that's going to get him what he wants. We're just going to go with the temper tantrum. It's going to get him what he wants. He has a story that, of course, he's going to be fabricating and paying somebody, and they're going to put it together, him and Mr. Hudson, his assistant, and they're going to put that out about Jordan, and that needs to happen ASAP, to kind of throw a monkey wrench into his political aspirations, which it's a lot. Like, I've never hated anybody that much to invest that much of time, energy, and money. And with the FBI hot on your trails, you need to be saving all your pennies, dimes, nickels, and quarters. But do what you want to do. I don't tell people, grown people, what to do too often. So you do what you think you need to do. I'm just saying that money that you are using to conspire against Jordan, you should be using it to save up or to buy your plane ticket to Guatemala. That's all I'm saying. All right. Dan is back with the therapist. Oh, now this particular scene is very heavy, so just bear with me. She has to talk about Preston because in the last conversation, she hints to the therapist that she always continues to choose the wrong man, and the therapist like, let's explore that. Like, what you mean? What you talking about? So now she has to talk about Preston, and she tells her, country dude from two different sides of the world, kind of fair for him, didn't really work out. And she also has to end up telling her about Jonah, and the guy she ended up running over with her car. No, he ain't dead, girl. I ain't kill him. He made it out. But I just don't know. Danny's telling the therapist, I don't know why I couldn't see that darkness in him before it happened. And she reminds Danny, like, sometimes people hide those particular demons and those negative traits about themselves, and sometimes you just don't see it until it's too late. And I agree. But if I am Danny and I understand the thought process is that I'm smart in every other aspect. I'm up on my game in every other aspect, and in this particular aspect, I keep failing, and I keep making decisions that don't align with how I make other decisions in life. This is just my interpretation. Y'all let me know what y'all think. If y'all think something else, this is my what came across my mind when I was watching the scene. And I see what she's saying. Like I said, if I'm going to apply myself in the situation, I can see that, because when you know that you're a good decision maker and you're sound in other aspects, it's hard for you to believe, like, this one aspect I keep screwing up. And I don't really know why I be doing that. And now I'm speaking for Danny, not speaking for me right now, just maybe a past me. And so, I understand her angst, but I further understand, they're telling her, like, when people show up, they show you their best self for as long as they possibly can, the butterflies and honeymoon phase, it's a thing that exists for a reason, and you're not always gonna get it right when you're trying to decipher who a person really is. Because Jonah, he portrayed a good role. I thought he was gonna be a good contender to get Preston up out the way, but that's not how that worked out. It's just not how it happened. All right. She said that Jonah was familiar with some other guys that she came across, and so now we gotta get a little bit deeper, because now this is the second or third person where you're realizing that there's a pattern in who you're choosing for partners, potential partners, whatever it looks like for you. Then she goes on to tell her about Rusty. Rusty was an athlete, somebody she dated in college. She thought that just by way of being with him that she was important and her status was heightened. However, he turned out to be very critical of her in every aspect: her weight, what she wore, all those different type of things, right? One day he jerked her into a locker room, was punching her and beating her up, and she had forgotten about that, and so that's something that came up in this session. Going back a little bit, she said that she felt like she was in college, so let's just say 18, 19, 20. Very still young and impressionable in my opinion, because I was 18, 19, and 20 once upon a time. Still young, still impressionable, and whatever her rearing, whatever her exposure, whatever it was, something in her psyche told her that just by being with this jock, this athlete, that her sense of importance on campus or wherever they were was important. And so he was more of a status symbol than a partner. Interesting, because I don't see Danny being that kind of person, but she's also not in college anymore. She's not 18, 19, or 20. So, I can't apply that to who she is in today's terms, but I just thought that was interesting. The whole status thing, because, a lot of women do get tied up into that when they're marrying these basketball players and these high status men, and your sense of importance becomes tied to who you are in relationship with. And that's just unfortunate for our particular species. But we're going to move on. Going back to the part where she got through telling her about the story, and it was kind of coming back to her as she was reliving it a little bit or whatever, as she was sitting there talking to the lady, and she told the therapist that she had forgotten about it, right? And again, that reminded me of my own forgottenness. Because in my notes I wrote that she maybe she didn't forget, maybe she kind of buried it so deeply that it almost didn't even exist in her realm of possibility, which, in my little bit of, healing and, research or whatever it is that you want to call it. Some people call it like a form of dissociating. For the professionals, you tell me about it in the comments. The professionals, the people that know the actual answers. But I'm going to apply that to my own self. For me, it was more like, not the pop. For me, it was more of disassociating. I was talking to my sister the other day, and there's a good chunk of life, like, people can remember their elementary teacher and their best friend from elementary school. That part of life, I don't remember. And it's not that I got like early onset dementia or nothing like that, because I've had to test around, because some things I physically have trouble remembering sometimes. And I just think that sometimes life can be so traumatic, and that there are things, slow down, that things happen that you don't want to keep reliving. And I'm a type of person, like, things run on a loop in my head sometimes. And so having, pushing them down and getting away from them, it's easier to deal with than having that loop going. And so sometimes I get to the point where, like, do I have dementia, girl? Like, why are you not remembering, stuff that should be very important? Or, why is my memory a little bit more affected than, my peers? What's going on? And, I just tied it back to disassociating, because sometimes things are so painful. Your defense mechanism is going to help you disassociate yourself from it, or make you believe it was somebody else. That wasn't me. It ain't happened to me, just so you can cope, you can thrive, you can survive. And that's okay. I think that's okay for a certain period of time. You know, we can dissociate, we can push that down until we're ready to deal with it. Don't know where I'm going with that. Don't know who that is for, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. Moving on. Moving right along. Don't want to get too deep. I like to keep it real light over here, so we're going to bring it back up. All right. Sabrina's talking to her beau. Forgot his name. They're having a little bit of small talk, a little bit of banter or whatever, and she gets around to telling him that she's planning to freeze her eggs. And something in his countenance kind of shifts, and now he's uncomfortable with the conversation. He tells her, like, listen, that's really good. That way, if we don't work out, you'll still have the option to have children. Everybody's happy. Now, it gave snarky. Like, I don't know. It was something about it that gave, like, attitude. And like I said, his countenance also changed, and he kind of rushed her out, rushed her back to work, you know, saying that they were busy when obviously they're not that busy. But there's something to that. And if I'm a guessing woman, I guess he might be offended because he feels like, oh, I said I don't want children. You said you understood the fact that I don't want children and that you want to be with me. But then you go freeze your eggs as if you are planning for when this does not work out. Which, I ain't gonna say understandable. I'm just gonna say, sir, duh. Like, I mean, there's a possibility that nothing will actually work out, and she needs to have her proverbial eggs in a basket or freezer. Sorry, I'm childish. And so yeah, I'm glad she did it because, again, time is ticking. We're people of a certain age, and we need to put things in order just in case things don't work out. I know we all hope for the best, but we're also going to prepare for the what? The worst. All right, moving right along. Lisa goes to see Karen at the salon the next day, and Mama writes her a check to go ahead and help her out because, you know, things are getting thick. But Mama wants to know, okay, I don't mind helping you. That's not the plan, but let's have a conversation. What is your plan for the future? And she was like, oh, you know, the shop just opened. You know, we're just waiting on she's counting on the shop picking up and, you know, old clients coming back, new clients showing up. And her mama said, so what if it doesn't pick up? Realistically speaking, what if the shop don't pick up? What if the volume of clientele that you have doesn't match your bills and what you need to do? And she was like, you know, I figured I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. And, you know, that's cool. I've never really liked that euphemism because, sir, ma'am, whatever you want to go by, I would like to know that the bridge is coming before I get to it, or to know my strategy for crossing said bridge when I get there. But that's me. I don't know about waiting until I get to the edge of the bridge to figure out how to get across it. I want to. I already know how I plan to get across it. But again, that's just that's how my brain operates. And then Miss Lisa goes on to tell her, if you give Zach what he needs to be comfortable, then he will help you by way of the DNA test. And tells her, you know, hey, don't cut your nose off to spite your face. And sounds good. But again, going back to my original sentiment, I think y'all are convoluting two issues. I think the DNA test is something that should be given to Zach, not in exchange for his financial help and support, because I feel like he's going to do that anyway, but for his own sanity. You know what I mean? Because, you know, sometimes men end up taking care of a child for 20, 30, 40 years, and then the test come back and you be like, and they're like, that's not my child. And then, you know, the whole family get unalived. So let's just not do that. Let's just give that man what he needs to know up front. I mean, monetarily is not the only reason that you would want to confirm somebody's paternity. Actually, you got genetic disorders and all these things that could come up, you know, and so it's important that these children know who their actual parents are. Don't know who needs to hear that either, but you know, it's important. But I feel like she's afraid that the results won't be what she thinks they are. I'm trying to think back. We're on season, 7? What season we on? We're on 7. So I can't think far enough back to see who could be option number 3 or 4. But I do know that a man came over one night. Don't remember what happened. And it wasn't Zach. It was like her little, let me see. Like a little sneaky link. Let's just go with that. Like her consistent dose of D. In between her and Zach being on and off. I call that in another season, but I don't know time frame. I can't put it together, but I just think she's truly nervous at what the results will be, especially when she did all this lying and scheming and did all this to try to pin this baby on this boy, and it could definitely not be. Moving right along. Yeah. Delivery guy Trey shows up with more packages. That it said he tells Karen, it sounds like Zach wants to be in his child's life, honestly, and I don't blame him. If it were me, I would have did the same thing. Alluding to the fact, like, hey, just get that man what he asking for. Like, he sounds like he wants to be a part of his child's life under the guise that is truly his child. So, I really ain't got no problem with it. And then he invites her out to lunch, and she says yes. Okay, girl, whatever. You was just bowing off men, and you was damn near none just 2 episodes ago. Now you going out to lunch, and lunch just lead to all this other. Girl, whatever. Penelope brings Gary lunch, child, and Penelope's on a one-woman mission. She won't find as much information as she can in these desks and these drawers and whatever she got going on. She's snooping around. She finds a picture of Andy. She finds what looks like the warrant, which I think is, probably from the FBI, whatever. She couldn't really get too deep in it because he walks back in and she has to, shuffle and put stuff back. He's really not happy to see her in the least bit, and he must have heard or seen her, putting stuff back in the drawer and kind of closing it in her angst to do so, and asked her, like, hey, why are you going through my drawers? What you doing? And she's like, can you believe they ain't even give me no fork to go with your lunch? And he not buying it. He kind of looking at her with the side eye, like, girl, all right, don't get caught up. And he tells her, listen, I ain't hungry. You can go ahead and head out. Goodbye. First of all, you're not going to dismiss your pregnant girlfriend like that. If it were me, you better act like you got some sense. Either way, Hudson the assistant offers him a little nose candy to take the edge off of everything that he has going on. He's like, no, I might need it later on, but just not right now. They talk a little bit about the girl. Sounds like the girl that they've paid off to say something about Jordan, and so that plan is going to come into fruition in the coming episodes. Fatima tells Andy about some scandal that has come out about Jordan's opponent, and she's like, I need you to be careful. I need you to talk to Jordan. I hope that he is clean, because once they start digging out one person's dirty laundry, everybody's is going to be fair game when it comes to this campaign trail. So I need him to make sure, that he is on the up and up. So you need to have that conversation. Because when they start digging up trash and skeletons, ain't nobody really safe. So I need you to do that. All right, Miss Page / Karen / Mama Mind Her Damn Business is going over one of Sabrina's accounts. She's claiming that the account holder called while Sabrina was out to lunch, and she needed to go look for some information, and she noticed that the math was off. And she claimed that the account is off by $500,000, and she needs Sabrina to explain what's going on. And she was reading, and Sabrina's like, girl, like, get out my stuff. First of all, we don't handle each other's account, so it's far-fetched for you to even be double checking her stuff, but we gonna handle it. And so she's telling Paige, like, listen, you're reading the ledger, whatever it is, you're reading the paperwork wrong. The paperwork is correct, and the paperwork reads as if there is a $500,000 gain, which means he made another $500,000. He's not missing $500,000. So just calm down. Basically, from here on out, you let me handle my accounts and you handle yours the way it's actually supposed to be handled, and we won't have no smoke. And what pisses me off about this is not that you thought she made a mistake, but that you wanted to passive aggressively insinuate that $500,000 is missing, knowing Sabrina is fresh off this bank robbery charge that Q and Maurice got her tied up in. So just the passive aggressive insinuation is enough to get that girl in trouble, and that's what you're trying to do, because you're trying to underhandedly go after this branch manager position. And for me, fuck the branch manager position. Meet me outside by the mailbox, and we can do what needs to happen. Because now you're playing a very much dirty game, and it don't even take all that. Right? Yeah. And she's telling Maurice about it. Maurice tells her, listen, keep your good eyes open, because if she going through all that kind of trouble, she really might be trying to set you up. And I definitely agree with you, Maurice, because I don't put anything past them women. Okay. Hayden calls Gary under the guise that he's just checking on him. Mind you, 5 minutes ago, he didn't want nothing to do with him when the FBI was on his throat, asking questions, whatever, whatnot. Anyway, of course, he has to keep him up to date on what's going on with Andy and Fatima. He tells him that they were talking about Jordan and hoping he doesn't have any dirt. And Gary tells Hayden, listen, I already got something on my sleeve. You ain't got to worry about whether he's going to be clean. He's not coming out of the squeaky clean. And Hayden wants him, listen, don't let this shit with Andy go too far. It's just a warning. Listen, just don't get too deep in the thing. And that's cool, but you can't give nobody the matches and tell them not to burn the city down. What you giving? You filter him information. You co-conspiring with him. You do all the thing, and then you tell him, oh, hands off, hands up. You're doing too much. Don't get too deeply involved. Let's take a step back. You won't be in it or not. Because Double Dutch ain't really never been my game. If I was Gary, what, were you in and out and you're warning me and cool, but maybe the warnings are feigned concern. It's just really annoying when it comes to Hayden. Either way, Gary's sitting outside the restaurant that Andy and Jordan went to for lunch, and he's just sitting there spying on the people as they're leaving dinner, and simultaneously he is sitting there enjoying a healthy helping of said nose candy. So much so he's kind of discombobulated. The car is parked not far from his, and he's trying to, aim the weapon, the firearm, and I couldn't tell if either he can't or he won't. And can't by way of the nose candy is affecting his motor skills, and he can't do what he came here to do. Or he won't, as if this ain't the time or the place. Maybe I need to think long game. I don't really know what stopped him from doing what he needed to do. And you could guess what he was there to do. But again, people are freshly on your trail. It ain't really the time to be trying to take people off earth. But it's Gary, and things that he do never ever make sense. So we're just going to go with it. Yeah, and that's pretty much how the episode is summed up. In the previews for next week, we see that Mr. Jordan is madly in love, and he is throwing the L word around, and Andy is not here for it, girl, and I definitely appreciate it. And I appreciate it from Andy, because we know she's just a hopeless romantic, but we'll talk about that next week. We also see that Mr. Tony brings his kids in over by Danny's place, and obviously there was a miscommunication because she is damn near undressed. She was expecting him to get there, and they get to body rock and knocking boots, but he brought the kids over to meet Danny. No warm up, just real dry, unlubricated and that's gonna be awkward, and that's gonna be funny to see what Danny got to say about these churn that then showed about the woodwork. Again, that's it. That's pretty much it. That sums up season 7, episode 5. Let me know what you think about the episode. Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Yeah, that's about it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.